Over the past 19 months, I've been taking on 1 to 5 paid clients per month as a charisma coach. Basically, I have been turning overthinkers into naturals. But what I've realized over this time is that most men make the exact same mistakes over and over again that once they fix, completely change the way potential girls, friends, coworkers see them. So if you are frustrated with all of the bullshit YouTube advice that doesn't work, here are the top 19 things that I've learned that are going to actually make you charismatic AF. Lesson number 1, fuck them. That one person that's in your mind right now who told you that you were a piece of shit, the girlfriend that broke up with you, the parent that was an asshole to you, the friend that kept slighting you. Fuck them. What I realized with working from clients is that most people have at least one person in their life that told them and made them genuinely believe that they were a piece of shit. So I'm going to be here to tell you that you are not weird. You are not undeserving. There's no reason for you to settle in life with your relationships. So build a little bit of self-respect right now, bro. Get a little angry at that fact. Say fuck them, because that little twinge of anger is the key to sparking your change. Lesson number 2, I had a client that was really into the dating scene, right? He wanted to get really good at pulling girls, at feeling abundant with women, being able to have a girlfriend basically whenever he wants. But his idea on how to do this was to just keep consuming and consuming dating content, right? If he knew all the tips and tricks and tactics and exactly what to say, it would just work out. False. Because it was only whenever we made it a literal goal for him to stop watching content that he started getting glances from girls. He started to pull, he got phone numbers. He started taking these girls out after he met them. Lesson 2 is to stop watching basic ass charisma content because it only leads to overthinking. There's 2 types of videos I'm talking about. The very first is the tactics, charisma on command type bullshit. Of course you're gonna overthink whenever you have in your mind, ooh, I need this body language hack. I need to get my eye contact and tonality just perfect. Oh my God, that shit is so silly, bro. And the other type of content that I see right now popping off is that this 19-year-old kid that just found this cool charismatic technique to use. Bro, the only reason people watch those videos is to feel like someone else is also struggling with their charisma. So face it, bro. Do you want to feel better because someone else is struggling, or do you want to actually change? Which leads us to lesson number 3. I'm about to knock my first door as a door-to-door salesman in the heat of Atlanta, Georgia. But I'm scared. I'm literally shaking. I call my mentor, Iceman. I'm shaking right now. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I'm confident enough for this. And Iceman's on the other side of the phone. He says, Luke, do you think that any of us were confident on the first day? You don't have to be good yet. If you're scared, good. Do it scared. What I learned by knocking on doors and becoming one of the best salespeople in that office was that there's no such thing as born confidence. There's no such thing as naturals with charisma. The only thing is, some people did it earlier. Maybe they had really good upbringings. They naturally were put in all of these social situations when they were young, so it feels easy now. Or maybe they've just already went through the phase where they learned everything they could about charisma. But the thing is, you don't see that part. Meaning, the more that you take these social risks, the more that you do it scared now, the sooner it's gonna be that it no longer scares you and other people just think, oh, he's always been a natural. Lesson number 4. I had a client who was constantly overthinking every interaction. Oh my God, she totally didn't like me because I came off as weird. You know, my body language wasn't on point. My eye contact was off. So I thought, okay, what is the one thing that I can give this guy to focus on that is the 80-20 of charisma, that everything else is going to fall in line with once he masters? I thought back to my own voice, what changed my life the most, what made me the most progress. And I thought, oh shit, it's your voice. Because more than any eye contact hack or body language, your voice reflects every bit of fear, every piece of baggage that you have, every roadblock that you are coming up against. And it is the most vulnerable aspect of charisma because it is the closest connection to the emotional impulse that you feel, the need to speak, and expression. And because of this fact, mastering voice is the fastest path to mastering charisma. Because when you free, unlock, and change your voice, you're dealing with all of the mental blocks that actually make a difference. Not the tactics, the mental things holding you back. Change your voice and you change yourself. And by the way, bro, if you want a strong, powerful voice and to master charisma in 30 days, you can click the first link in the description. Lesson number 5. Have you ever tried to change your voice already, bro? Like, have you ever tried to speak like a leader, more powerfully, with more conviction? But it just won't work. It's like sometimes it works, but the rest of the time it just falls back into what your old voice was. Good news, it's not because you can't change your voice, it's simply because you have the order wrong. While most guys are obsessed with the sexy stuff, like getting a deep voice, getting a resonant voice, being able to speak in a manner that commands attention, the very first thing you have to do is get really confident and comfortable in the voice that you have now. Because as soon as you do this, you master the fear behind it. And as soon as you aren't afraid to speak, as soon as you aren't afraid of your voice, that is whenever you're really able to change, because you are not afraid of failure, of rejection, of people's perceptions of you. It's almost like you have to achieve that mental peak before you can truly change your voice. The next lesson, whenever I wanted to stop being called gay all the time, I am going to be meditating for 60 days. That's a lot. I thought that I had to just change my voice completely, change all of my mannerisms, everything. And I had no idea how to do that, so I went down one rabbit hole and the next, learned all the straw techniques and the breathing techniques. And I figured out after a few years of trial and error that it's because you don't really change your voice. You unlock it. Voice is the path to becoming uninhibited, which is the root of all charisma. And the more that you are able to connect this thought impulse, this emotional impulse, and your voice, the more that you unlock this thing called reflexive speech. And the more that you do this, the more you unlock and the more self-understanding you get, the more you're able to understand others accurately. Lesson 7, when I was knocking doors scared, right? I kept getting the door slammed in my face. After a couple weeks with no sales, I call Iceman and I'm like, what is happening, dude? Something is up because I'm getting nothing. I'm dry out here. And he says to me, all right, bro, what is your sticking point? And I'm like, what? He says, what's your sticking point? Take out your funnel. And I look through this document that we're given, right, that kind of shows the basic sales process, right? How many doors you knock versus how many people you were able to present to versus how many people actually make the sale. And Iceman says, yeah, Luke, there's some people who get like almost 0 doors answered just because they don't look friendly or they don't knock loud enough. And I don't think you're one of them. And I was like, no, I'm a pretty friendly guy. I knock loudly, I speak loudly. But it was during the presentation that I was losing people, right? I had a lot of doors opened. I got a lot of presentations out. I was not getting a lot of sales. So that was my sticking point. And Iceman asked me, Luke, are you explaining to people how internet works? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. And he says, everyone has internet, bro. They know how that shit works. You're over-explaining. Keep the presentation short. After that, I started racking up sales a lot easier. The fact is, in charisma, there are funnels. If you want to get really good at dating, there are steps along the way, right? There is first talking to a girl, right? Meeting girls. There's asking a girl out, asking her for her phone number, actually going on the date, going for the first kiss. In friendships, in dating, in careers, whatever your social sticking point is, the one thing that has higher friction around it than anything else that seems scarier, once you master that, once you get over your sticking point, everything else flows. Dates, friendships, deep connections, coworker relationships, it all gets easier once you master once you nail your one sticking point. Lesson number 8, it is funny how lucky you become whenever you start taking more action than other people. I've had people tell me before that I'm lucky to date the girls that I've dated. I'm lucky to have made some kind of success on YouTube. Fact is, bro, the result tends to happen to the person who acts enough. The client that wanted to get really good with girls, right? He was getting rejected again and again and again until he wasn't. Until he started getting phone numbers, until he started taking these girls on dates, going home with some of these girls. The fact is, you're never going to be able to control what she says. You're never going to control if this person likes you or not, what they think about you. The point is the action is the win, not the result. Prioritize the action every time. Lesson number 9, when I was 21 years old, I'm half crying on the verge of tears in my shower because I had just broken up with my girlfriend, but on top of that, I had lost this entire friend group. And I realized for the first time, wow, people actually hate me. Like, there are people out there who dislike me, who I still have to see on a daily basis. As weird and awful of a feeling as that was, it was also kind of freeing. I literally made a video about it after this happened.
You know you're living life right if there's some people who don't like you.
But the fact is, once you realize that there are people out there who do hate you, who do dislike you for one reason or another, you also realize you live. Repelling people is actually a huge confidence boost because you realize you don't have to have everyone like you. So get practice polarizing people early, meaning you're going to have some people who dislike you and some people who love you. And until you do this, everyone is just going to think that you're meh, okay, because you don't really show your real personality. Lesson number 10. There was this client I was coaching who would not ask out this girl, right? He had liked this girl for months and months, but would never ask her out because he kept thinking, oh, she's totally gonna say no. This interaction was weird the last time I talked to her. It just won't work out. He spent months overthinking and assuming until finally I convinced him to ask her out. And she said yes, bro. The fact is, every single person has cognitive distortions, tricks that your mind will play on you that you genuinely believe are real. And every person has one or two favorites, right? Personally, I really suck at emotional reasoning and jumping to conclusions. Those are two tough ones for me. But the fact is, bro, because of these distortions, you don't know what others are thinking. Stop pretending that you do. From now on, just simply assume you have no idea until you ask directly. Lesson 11. Why do you think that public speaking is a more common fear than death? The root cause of this is basically the root cause of almost every charismatic problem. And the reason why it's so hard for you sometimes to get into this social flow state, it's because of the fear of judgment. The fear of judgment that you feel from telling something that's a little bit vulnerable, from going and asking the girl out, right? This fear naturally closes off every part of you that is likable, because honesty and vulnerability unlock social flow. Meaning you're going to feel this fear of judgment whenever you do the scary social thing. Every single time you have to act anyway. Say the jokes that you think might not go over well, but you think are funny. Be a bit more loud, boisterous, commanding than usual. See how it goes. The idea is little bit by little bit to lessen this throat, this grip on the throat that the fear of judgment has on you. And the fastest way to achieve vulnerability and honesty is by connecting emotional impulse directly to your voice. Coming back once again to reflexive speech. Lesson number 12. You know how in some games, like Minecraft, bro, think about Minecraft, you only have a limited amount of inventory space. It's the exact same thing in social life. You only have limited homie slots or girl slots because the amount of time that you can give, the amount of bandwidth, mental bandwidth you can give to people is limited. And the amount of slots you have depends a bit on your nature. It depends a bit on what season of life you're in right now, if you can have a lot of people in your life or not. But the fact is there's always going to be a limit. So you have to make sure that the slots you are filling up are with people that you genuinely want to be more like. Because if you're like how I was forever and ever, where I would just fill up my slots with anyone who would give me attention, that's needy ass thinking, and it's going to lead you to the kinds of relationships that make you feel like shit. Which leads us to lesson number 13. Lucky number 13, baby. I had the typical college experience of quote unquote finding myself, right? Discovering more and more about myself, actually figuring out what my values are, and to be real with you, becoming more masculine throughout college. But this shift in my identity, this shift in my values made me different than the friends and friend groups that I already had, right? So I would hold my tongue. I didn't speak as much. I became quiet in my relationship, in the friend groups that I had. But what I learned is the moment that you trade your voice for belonging, you lose both. Because I was being quiet, because I wasn't speaking up as much, I wasn't as much my authentic self, naturally these relationships started to weaken, right? And so when I broke things off with this girl, all of those relationships were gone. What I've learned through that and some client mishaps is to not change your values for your tribe. If anything, the people in these groups are going to respect you more simply because you speak your mind. You're unafraid to stand up for yourself, which means if it comes down to it, you'll be unafraid to stand up for them. And by the way, bro, the people that you want to have in your life anyway are those who have different opinions and values than you, but still love you anyway. Because that shows something a lot deeper than values, that shows character. Lesson number 14. Remember how I talked about your relationships and they're kind of like the slot bar in Minecraft, the inventory? So when you're going mining, you need to carry torches and a pick, but other times when you're going fishing, you need as much inventory space as possible for all of those goddamn fish. One of the clients that I had come on was going through a separation with his wife, right? They were getting a divorce. And he was really torn up about it. And he was thinking, oh man, there's no way that my self-image is going to repair itself. I probably won't date for a long time. But as soon as I explained to him this concept, within 2 weeks, I never heard from him again. Because he was having an amazing time in his relationships. And he started dating a new girl. And if I get a client to a point where they don't need me anymore, that's the biggest win I can possibly take. What I explained in that call is that relationships, your relationship slots are always in flux. It's not a failure to lose a relationship. That's the game. And of course, when you lose people, always look for where you can improve, but at the same time, realize there's 1,000 things that could have happened to make so that those friends drifted away, or so that that girl left you, or you had to leave that girl. And always be willing to hold on to the great relationships, the great people you have in your life, but at the same time, be willing to let any of them go. because trying to hold on to dying relationships is one of the most toxic things that you can do for your own life and for other people's. So recognize you will find others. When one of those slots opens up, it will get filled. Which leads perfectly into number 15. You know that weird phenomenon where at the start of college you make a friend group and they are not the same friend group by the time that you leave college? That's because everyone kind of gets whenever they move to this new place with a bunch of young people they've never met that they need this transition friend group, right? They need a few friends to start going out with so they can meet other people. For some reason, once you become an adult, once you're out in the working world, people just don't do this. Anytime that you are starting fresh or anytime that you don't have your relationship slots filled, your main goal is to fill your slots, then to manage them. Meaning find your transition friend group, because when you do this, you avoid the neediness and poor mental health that comes with just sitting and waiting for the perfect friend, right? That doesn't exist. The perfect friend to come around. When you're alone for long enough, it's kind of a self-perpetuating cycle. So the faster you can get out of it, the faster that you can make this transition friend group, the more that you're going to realize, one, people you didn't think that you'd have stuff in common with, you actually vibe with a lot. And two, that it's really easy to make great friends as soon as you just form this foundation. Number 16, the moment I knew that my shift to this new charismatic version of myself wasn't just a temporary on and off thing, but a permanent change, was when I threw my trash can against a wall. My recent ex-girlfriend had called me and told me, hey, I'm seeing other people. By that I mean I'm having sex with other people. And you know, rationally, that's great, dude. That's fantastic. We're not together anymore. You do what you want. Emotionally, I was fucked. I was angry. For the first time in my life since I was a kid and I was shut down and told that anger is not an appropriate reaction, I integrated anger. And that allowed me to integrate masculinity. Not that they're one and the same, right? But whenever you cut out anger, you cannot have a full sense of masculinity. But past that point, I was unafraid to speak my mind. I never really had angry outbursts because I would just, if I felt a twinge, I would just say so. Hey, this made me upset. And what I learned from being a more integrated person is that charisma is not a born trait, but it's a collection of habits stemming from an uninhibited voice. And the only way that you can create an uninhibited voice is by integrating this lost sense of masculinity that most men are feeling. And it's almost a click moment for my clients. I know it was for me, that one moment you're overthinking everything and the next you don't think at all. You just act and it seems to work out. You just are charismatic. I can't wait for you to experience that, bro. Number 17, my client Mark, bro, his friends wanted to go out to a nightclub. They wanted to go have fun and party, and he did too, but he told me, I don't think I could because my parents wouldn't like it. And I looked at him in the eyes and I said, Mark, you were 28 years old. You live in a different country than your parents, and you are still living in their shadow right now. And you are still making decisions as if they are watching. What I found with most of my clients, and I know for sure with me, is that a lot of us have been living in the shadow of our father or our mother throughout our lives. And the more that you do this, the more that you repress the things that you actually want to do to act in a way that they would like, rather than you think is the right move, the worse it is in the long term, because you start building up resentment towards them, and they don't even know. They're not forcing you to act the way that you do. You just have this idea that they're going to be disappointed, and you want to avoid that short-term pain. But this short-term emotional letdown is always better than the long-term resentment that you are going to build up between the two of you. The fact is, bro, your parents are no longer authorities. They are consultants, meaning you are an adult and you can make your own rules. Number 18, imagine that you were flipping a coin and 3 times in a row it lands on heads. Does this mean that this coin only lands on heads? No, bro. You're like, man, that's a weird coincidence. Funny that happened. And we intuitively understand this when it comes to a coin flip, but when it comes to social situations, we do this all the time. One girl that you've been crushing on rejects you, and you're like, oh, I must not be attractive. There must be something wrong with me. Maybe I just can't get girls who are on that quote-unquote level. They're out of my league. Leagues are fucking silly, bro. In the social world, most people learn from moments. The smart people, the charismatic, learn from patterns. Because there's always something to take away from an experience, right? Whether you just got into a deep conversation with this person for the first time, you're like, how did that happen? Whether it's talking to strangers and it goes super well or super poorly, there's always something to learn. But you have to learn from it the right way, through data sets and not through a coin flip. Meaning take hints from single experiences, but only take lessons from patterns. Lastly, number 19, when I first moved back home from Atlanta, right? Taking YouTube seriously, full time. There's no one here in my hometown, back when I'm in the trauma house, right? There's no one here that I could be friends with or have social support, so I might as well not try anyway. How do you think the business did during that period in time? Poorly. Bro, fact is, bro, when my clients first came to me, how many do you think had this really fulfilling, happy life, that they were doing so well in their careers? They had the girl that they actually wanted. Zero. None. And it's because until you master charisma, the rest of your life is on hold. The business is not going to take off without the support. The girl that you actually want to date is not going to come into your life until you can attract her. You're going to get passed up on promotions by the guy who is more likable, because it's been proven that EQ is more important than IQ in the workplace. My point is, if you don't have the romantic life, the social life, the self-image of a man with a powerful voice and charisma, then you are missing the backbone for personal success. Watch this video right now for the exact deep dive on how to build this backbone, and act now and become unstoppable.